Welcome to the channel. Inspired by the anime Shangri-La The Last Frontier, me and my chat have been checking out quote-unquote bad games in the industry right now. And seeing as a particular game was on sale recently up to March the 21st, we thought we'd check out Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, a third-person looter shooter developed by ROCKSTEADY Studios and produced by Warner Bros. Games. We thought we'd check out the game, check out the story, see what we like about it, characters, game progression, and also the end-game content. At the start of the game, we begin with our four protagonists strapped to armchairs. The opening cutscene really does set a good tone for the kind of humor that you'll get within the game. We really do get a sense that the team is forced together under circumstances, and that transitions to a I'll kind of deal with you mentality by the end of the game, with a slight bit of wholesomeness and comedy. This is really brought forth by the good voice acting done by the likes of Tara Strong, Daniel LaPaine, Bumper Robinson, and Joe Snossa, who represent our four protagonists for the game. These voice actors really allowed us to really flesh out who our main characters were. Our Queen of Chaos, Harley Quinn, our goofball from Down Under, Captain Boomerang, our clueless aquatic friend, King Shark, and our always serious tough guy with a little bit of a soft spot, Deadshot. At the beginning of the game, their quirks really came together to create this kind of oddball family, but by the end it got a bit tiresome when looking at characters like King Shark, who kind of just became sort of like a little version of Drax from Guardian of the Galaxy. The same could be said for our side character Poison Ivy, who kind of became a watered down version of Tiny Tina. These characters by the end of the game felt like they could only dish out punchy and shocking one-liners with a little bit of a chuckle, a hard nose breathe, and not really like a bellowing laughter like you would find in other games and other characters that we love throughout movies and the entertainment industry. When it came to the main story, there was a lot to kind of be decided. There was a really big build up of our three big bad heroes, Batman, The Flash, and Superman, where the game itself didn't make you fear these characters and have this all impending doom that you're versing the Justice League. It kind of left it up to the players themselves from watching cartoons, reading comic books, and create the fear on your own. This was because the game didn't really give us a solid display of their power through the stories or through cutscenes throughout the whole thing. Okay, editing me, I know some of you guys are thinking, what about the time that Superman stopped the rocket? Or the time that the Green Lantern captured us in the rings? Well, after those moments, the game kind of threw that out of the window, but we didn't see any kind of display of power to that level within the boss fights. Even in our first fight with the Flash, he talks about how he could potentially rip us apart, but never does. This could have introduced itself in the fight in mechanics such as maybe not touching the floor during the boss battle, or maybe standing still for too long causes the Green Lantern to clasp down on you and do a certain amount of damage to you. Or a fear mechanic where if you took too many hits from Batman's abilities, it caused you to take some extra damage, or allowed him to regen some HP. This led to incredibly disappointing boss battles with very unstimulating fights where bosses will go down to very simple mechanics you learned in the first half an hour of your gameplay. The underwhelming nature of the boss fights then made its way to the end of the main story when you defeated Brainiac and the game told you, hey, you've done this once, now do it another 12 more times, leaving the player with a very apathetic hooray to give back to the game by the end of the story. From a narrative standpoint, I think all of us can agree that the idea of a multiverse has become a lazy writing tool for people to just retcon and absolutely adapt and change stories however they want with no consequences. And honestly, it's a lazy effort from ROCKSTEADY Games. However, when it comes to the story, it was very reminiscent of the Arkham games, which you could tell was done by ROCKSTEADY Studios. In the original Arkham series, you'd have situations where you'd be flying over the city and listening in on bad guy conversations where they will show you their fear of Batman coming in, taking them out, or a tiny hint of their personal lives. In this game, it took form of Batman talking to Brainiac and his worries or lack of worries about the Suicide Squad coming and defeating them, which was a nice change of pace hearing Batman as the evil operator in your ear as you swung across the city. Now, when it comes to Season 1, the cutscene we see at the start of the game and the cutscene we saw in the trailer are the entirety of the whole of the story. ROCKSTEADY Games really did a bad job of showing us why we desired to really get the Joker onto our team, and could have also given us more first-person examples of why he was a danger to us. Maybe we could have had a couple missions trying to recruit him, and then he comes and sabotages our plan, but we really still see him as an asset where we have to then save him, and he joins our team with a level of distrust there. But it kind of feels like that all went out the window for a kind of quicker and flat pack version of that. Throughout the game, you do get some kind of background information onto some motivations onto getting Joker onto your team by Amanda Waller, who's played by Deborah Wilson, and Corey Burton, who plays Lex Luthor. However, I personally wasn't able to pick up the story because of things such as the Riddler going on in the background, or explosions and me fighting people during talking scenes. These lines being fleshed out into cutscenes would have helped the player feel an increased sense of urgency to save the Joker and add him towards the squad. Gameplay and missions. Now, I didn't mean for this video to be so negative, but it really just highlights the quality of the game, which we had to pay $60 for. But I digress. Missions generally were very repetitive, uninspired, and at some point there were reskins of previous missions we did. Off the top of my head, I can think of 5 missions we did: collection, killing, collection for explosions, fighting the big gun, and escort missions. Escort missions done with Lex Luthor and Waller were reskins of the same truck. Our Save the Civilian missions with Toyman and Save the Goon missions with Penguin were reskins of each other. We also had 2 kill and collect missions before the explosions with the dome on multiple occasions, and this was all within the main story. Rockstar absolutely did a terrible job of having mission variation, of making it feel like we did different things to progress our characters. And honestly, if I wanted to do an escort mission, I'd go play Overwatch. My hopes for the future is that Rockstar, within the main story for the next couple of seasons, give us some kind of variation with the kind of missions we have to do, just to make it feel fresh and alive. Now, guns and progression. Comparing this game to other looter shooters such as the Borderlands series, this game is pretty much a nothing burger. At the start of the game, you receive weapons that are leaps and bounds stronger than what you need to progress, allowing you to finish the main story with your eyes closed, honestly. Hi again, Editing Manny. The reason why I mentioned Borderlands 2 that I didn't really flesh out was the fact that in Borderlands 2 or any other Borderlands game, there's a sense of progression, even by an arbitrary means of giving us levels to limit what guns we're able to get throughout the story. Even if that was implemented in the game, you'll feel more of a sense of progression throughout the story and feel a reason to even change guns. For example, me, I had a shotgun and a sniper rifle that I got in the first 5 minutes of the game, and I used that literally all the way to the end, including another pistol that I used on Harley Quinn from the jump, which made gear feel sort of pointless. Now, with the release of Season 1, your character is told that you are severely underleveled before reaching the final mission to fight Brainiac. So before given access to it, you are made to play the missions that you've done within the story mode and collect strong weapons in aim to match up to the difficulty that would be there later. Within that, I was able to receive multiple tier 3 weapons before reaching the final boss. Now, after defeating the final boss, I thought to myself, what am I supposed to do after that? If my characters have the strongest tier of weapons there are, what will be my goal after? This gave me the feeling of progress for the sake of progress, where players didn't really need to get strong for the sake of any goal, but only if they just wanted to, which is terrible where you want a live service game for longevity, where you want players to revisit your game and have a sense of accomplishment every time they are done with a gaming session. In addition, I only ran Infamy set missions. With that, I didn't really need to do any of the side content. I didn't need to do any Penguin missions, get any other afflictions, but I was strong enough to defeat the final boss. ROCKSTEADY really left a lot to be desired in this, where progression felt more horizontal with a slight incline than vertical, where all endgame content really could have been achieved an hour or 2 into playing. At the start of the game, once you've unlocked all your basic functions, The combat is exactly the same at the start of the game as it is by the end of the game. The game literally has to limit what you can do by making it quote unquote harder so that you use other parts of your kit. Honestly, in kill missions, you could just throw your basic grenades the entire time without using afflictions of your left click or your grenade. Or in some cases, your counter does not need to be used whatsoever. The combat in itself just whittles itself down to a shield manager. This stretches across all the 4 different characters you're available to play in the story mode. When it boils down to it, all the characters are played the same whether you go a slugger build, detonator build, sniping build, or whatever. You run up, you get height, you use nades, you hit things, and then maybe you hit some feet to recover some shield, and you use a couple ultimates every now and again. Even with their slight difference in motion, they all boil down to the same thing: a shield generator simulator. Now when it comes to the enemies you're facing, upgrades in the enemies such as flashes, speed force being given to the enemies don't really change anything. Quick nade or quick ult defeats them before they're able to run away. The same goes for Green Lantern's helicopters. They just turn into bullet sponges where you just have to shoot a couple more extra times until you're able to do what you were doing before, with barely any variation to gameplay. Now, even when it comes to the combat itself, once you get everything upgraded to max level with character, the game becomes a visual clutter. Counters pretty much become impossible because you're picking up Bane masks off the floor, or your character is tooting or doing a gambling sign above their head, and it becomes a visual mess. The grain, when it's trying to target a higher FPS, becomes Minecraft if you're trying to target anything over 30 or 40 FPS, which is awful for gameplay. It just turns into rubbish explosions that honestly can get anywhere else. Leading up to the release of the game, streamers such as Tarek, Shroud, and Dr. Lupo went to go play at ROCKSTEADY Studios. The reason that was done because even their PCs at home wouldn't have been able to run the game at a visual quality to where the viewers at home would have been able to actually see what was going on. For example, just take a look at me playing the game on my stream. I look like a Minecraft character, don't I? When it comes to the endgame of this game, it's really confusing. It tends to be a thing where if you're not a completionist, there is generally no reason for you to carry on unless you want a fully well-rounded decked out team. Past the main boss, all of the content isn't relatively difficult, and you're pretty much looted out to max potential before you even reach the final boss with tier 3 equipment before going into the Brainiac fight. Now, past the Brainiac fight, getting that equipment is going to be even easier, and any increase in difficulty becomes a game of I like to see bigger numbers and I want to see the enemies fall just that little bit faster. Which you're then gonna crank up the difficulty 1 stage higher to do the same thing. You become a caveman. I like big numbers. It kind of sinks you into this perpetual cycle of increasing the difficulty just to make it easy again, and then going up to the next stage to do exactly the same thing again. And the progression of increasing all your team's damage through shotguns, pistols, and the whole skill tree at the end comes null and void when you are able to clear the mobs in a decent speed anyway before the upgrades. It seems like the endgame content is there to leave this carrot dangling ahead of you that you could easily chase after, but only if you put the value in that carrot. And when you look at certain angles, the carrot isn't looking like a carrot, it's looking like Dookie. When it comes to the microtransactions, thankfully most of them are cosmetic, and if you really don't care about them, there's other means of getting cosmetic items for a game you paid $60 for. Just keep that in mind through the Riddler tasks. But when it boils down to it, spending money in this game past the purchase price is honestly just a money sink for something that doesn't need a battle pass and you already paid for. All in all, I'll say the price of this game should have not been $60 when release, and even the sale where I got it for £34, which would have been about $45 in US dollars, was still overpriced. When it comes to price to enjoyment and satisfaction and reward for playing the game, this game should be no more than $15. Yeah, so that's it for the video. If you like the video, like, subscribe. Any feedback is appreciated. This is my first time doing some editing, so I know a bit of it was a bit janky. Hoping to improve over some time, but yeah. Also, if you guys are interested in Dragon's Dogma 2, we'll be playing that on my stream soon, so if you want to go follow that, yeah, it'll be cool to see you over there. Another thing, if you guys are interested in Deep Rock Galactic, we've been playing that, Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, and we will be releasing a review of 100% in the game, because I've pretty much completed, well, I have completed everything from start to finish, and yeah, I'll be giving the game a little bit of a cheeky review. Apart from that, have a good day or night wherever you are, and yeah, see you on the next one. Peace, 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 peace.